Yes, indeed. It's Metro FM. That's where you at. Like every other Wednesday, we are welcoming you to yet another day. It is the Arena, and I am your host. I'm Chapashkoi, known to many as Chico. And today we are privileged to have a great man. He's an elder. I look at him as a person who is supposed to be seen as a statesman who has done a lot. We are sitting today with a father, grandfather, and elder, former town clerk of the cities of Lusaka and Kitwe, former Minister of Justice. He's a state council and the president of the Economic Front. He is Mr. Wynter Kabimba, State Council. We call him Comrade. At times I call him Uncle Wynter because I've known him from a time as when I was born, and also from how he has taught many of us passing through the same schools, and he has taught us that we should always read, and that's what we should have. We need to have more knowledge. And sitting down with him, we are going to look at the state of our democracy, economy, and social issues ahead of the 2026 election. Mr. Kabimba, welcome to the Arena.
Thank you, Chico, and good morning, dear listeners.
First thing first, like I had said in my introduction, this is a man who has been a town clerk, and he knows the local governance, not only in Zambia, but at global stage. He knows the local governance just like the back of his palm. Mr. Kabimba, we have one issue which has really affected Zambia, and you being a former town clerk and a Minister of Justice, someone who has navigated Zambia's legal, administrative, and public service system. I want to start with a pressing question on public health. The Tobacco Control Bill 2025 is about to go to Parliament, and it's already in reading. The committees, people are doing submissions. Those who are for it as the public health, based on what Zambia did in 2008. We know we have an SI, which is much on the local government, smoking in public, which was passed. From your perspective, what is your take on this bill, and how could it affect ordinary Zambians, especially in protecting health and public revenue?
Well, Chico, the issue of tobacco across the world is a double-edged sword. For the multinationals that are involved in the business of tobacco, it affects their profits. For the ordinary person who is a smoker, it affects his pleasure to indulge in smoking. For the majority of us who don't smoke, it is actually a health hazard. There's no doubt WHO has given us very clear scientific evidence that smoking can actually lead to cancer, especially cancer of the lungs. And I can tell you myself that I've lost one uncle of mine to cancer of the lungs as a result of smoking. And hence, the international rule now that all tobacco merchants, those that are involved in the production of tobacco, have to indicate on the pack, I'm sure you have seen, that smoking is dangerous. They do that to absolve themselves from the liability that may arise out of people contracting lung cancer from smoking. I haven't looked at the bill that you are referring to in detail, but I think it's important to emphasize that tobacco is an aspect of our public health that must be controlled by government. You see that now all the international flights, I'm sure, even domestic flights are non-smoking flights. You can't smoke on the plane. Many of the hotels, if not all the hotels, are non-smoke. They create a small portion of the restaurant of a hotel where you can go and smoke, but the larger part of the premises is non-smoking. Can we win the war against tobacco production and sales? I doubt. Can we manage to control it in order to save people's health? Yes, I think we can. And I think it is important that the bill, that our parliamentarians look at this bill very strictly, because it involves saving lives in our country.
Well, that is well spoken about, for we all know that Zambia, there is empirical and scientific evidence that every year we lose over 7,000 people having deaths from tobacco related, and therefore we need a tobacco control bill which is looking at the consumption. And I always say that you are well read. You know that there is the WHO framework convention on tobacco control, which is having those articles which you said about having plain packaging and also making sure that we do not affect people from secondhand smoke. And it is great to have you.
Thank you.
This is part of democracy. That's why we have come here. Democracy and citizen impact. In 1991, Zambia reverted to multi-party politics and democracy. What do you think this has really meant for the ordinary citizen, Mr. Kabimba?
The agitation in 1991 to abandon the one-party state and revert to multi-party politics, which was the regime governing this country from 1964, when we got independence, up to 1973, when KK declared or pronounced the one-party state. That agitation was, by the majority of the people, was actually in good faith. The people believe, and maybe rightly so, that democracy would deliver what the one-party state did not deliver. What did the one-party state not deliver? It didn't deliver the environment for free speech. The one-party state did not deliver the environment where the citizens can go to the polls and elect leaders of their own choice, because the party had a strict hand in who actually can participate in the elections and within the framework of the party, which was the United National Independence Party at the time. What else did the one-party state not deliver? The one-party state did not deliver an environment of tolerance for divergent views. The one-party state made it difficult for people to generally participate in the affairs of state of this nation. And therefore, it was stigmatized by people within the country and even beyond that it was an autocratic system. It was a system whose authority was vested in one man or in one small group of people. And when they said one man, it was Kenneth Kaunda. There was a slogan which you may not know because you were young at the time. There was a slogan in UNIP which went something like Kumulu Nilesa Panshi ni Kaunda. So God reigned in heaven and Kaunda was in charge on earth, and in particular in Zambia. So that's how powerful KK was perceived to be, and that's how he actually, that's how the citizens interpreted his authority. So in 1991, we were affected by the global events. The first thing that happened was that the Soviet Empire fell, crumbled. After so many decades of Soviet influence, starting from the October 1917 revolution, which was led by Vladimir Lenin in Russia. The Soviet Union and its collapse led to what is known as the collapse of the Iron Curtain. This was the war that divided East and West Germany. And in 1989, on this particular day, the citizens actually went and pulled down this obnoxious divide of the citizens of the same country. Consequently, that wind of change started sweeping across the world. And Africa was no exception. And Zambia was no exception to that wind of change. So apart from this agitation for multi-party politics having been a localized event, it had its roots in these global geopolitical events that had taken place, that continued to take place. We saw in Eastern Europe various regimes fall. Ceausescu in Romania, him and his wife were actually executed by the army, same army that had protected Ceausescu, and many others. They met this brutal revenge from the citizens as a result of years and years of autocracy and suppression of human rights. And therefore, it was the belief of the Zambian people that democracy was going to deliver the goods that the one-party state had failed to deliver. They believed that the ordinary person would be better off economically. They believed that democracy would resolve issues of bread and butter, that people would get employed. And if they got employed, they would possess the buying power to buy the essential commodities which now were in abundance when they were actually scarce under the one-party state. The Zambian people believe that the cost of subsistence would actually be that essential commodities would be affordable to every Zambian at a reasonable cost. So there were all these expectations, and now we can do a checklist and see what democracy has delivered in the last 35 years.
Yes, 35 years.
35 years.
Wow.
Okay. Chico, it is common knowledge that the people are not any better today in terms of their material well-being, their material conditions. They are not better than they were under the one-party state. Unemployment has continued to soar, has continued to rise, especially amongst the youths. Okay. Poverty has widened. Inequality has widened. The cost of subsistence has continued to rise. The only thing that democrats would be proud of to have delivered is the ballot.
Okay. You've said of the ballot. That's a good way of saying it. Maybe the dynamics have changed. The population have grown. And then we have more people not having jobs because the population has gone high. You mentioned of the ballots. Elections, since 1991, we have seen peaceful transfer of power from one government to the other. Have elections truly addressed the people's social and economic challenges, of which you've already alluded to, based on that?
Of course, the answer is no. That's why I was going to continue that the only thing that the democracy has delivered is the ballot. The only thing that Zambians have done so well under successive government since 1991 is the transfer of power from one group of people to another group of people. That we have done very well. Beyond that, there is very little of any sort of credentials that democracy would actually be able to testify to.
With that said, we've seen that Zambia economy from what we've seen, mainly it has to be looking at how much the country is earning. And copper has been one of our economic gains. And what is it that you can do or in economy beyond mining as the economic front? The mines have long been the cash cow of our economy. What do you think should be the alternative engines of growth for Zambia based on what you've said? Because we already know that we need to have 3 million tons by 2030 if that is attainable and if the copper prices will be fine. Apart from that, we've also seen that there's been the growing, the mushrooming of artisanal mining. We've seen that the gold scandals all over, and all that being put into perspective. What is your take on this? Mines being the cash cow of our economy.
One would have hoped that we have learned a lesson from the past. One of the reasons why we are in the situation in which we are today is because for a long time, Kaunda believed that copper would continue to be revenue base of this country. And he was not wrong, because all the development that we see post-1964 by UNIP in form of the number of schools built. There was a school in every district. Name every district under Kaunda, there was a school named after that district. In Mumbwa, there was Mumbwa Secondary School. Solwezi, there was Solwezi Secondary School. Mukushi, there was Mukushi Secondary School. Serenje, there was Serenje Secondary School. So name any district under KK's reign, during KK's reign, you'll find there is a secondary school there. Similarly, name any district, you'll find there is a general hospital there. Okay? So there was a school and a general hospital, you know. And all that infrastructure, all those facilities were financed by copper earnings. Financed from our copper earnings. But here was the problem. ZCCM, which was the administrative structure of our copper revenue, production and revenue, grew so large, it was top heavy in terms of management, that it created a problem for itself. Secondly, we came to learn and discover that although we produced copper, we didn't price the copper ourselves. So we produced the copper, we were the vendors of the copper, but the purchaser at the end of the line determined the price. So the Western countries created an organization known as the London Metal Exchange, based in London. And that's the organization that determines the price of copper. And they also determine how much copper should be on the market. So if you are going to have too much copper on the market, they will tell you there's overproduction of copper. Can you please scale down? So, ironically, the London Metal Exchange is based in London, in a country which produces no copper, which owns no copper, but it determines the price of copper. So you have a situation where it doesn't matter how much copper you produce. It doesn't matter how much you think you are going to earn from this copper. You will not get the revenue that you expect. In the last 2 decades, we were lucky with the emergence of the Chinese economy. So there was a lot of demand of copper by China. And as you may know, the 5 leading countries in terms of copper production are Canada, Australia, Chile, the DRC, and Zambia. Okay? These are the leading copper producing countries in the world. Because ZCCM was being affected by copper production, or copper pricing, or copper prices and the revenue, it became difficult for ZCCM to recapitalize the company. So you had machines that were wearing out. But because of the low income from copper, ZCCM was unable to buy new machines to mechanize the copper industry, to enhance its copper production. So because of the lack of technology, copper production started falling, and also on the international market, copper prices started falling. So we are affected from both ends. So when I hear the government today saying that they are targeting to produce 3 million metric tons of copper by 2030, and giving this hope that 3 million metric tons of copper would turn the fortunes of this country. It means they're glossing over the history, which I've just tried to outline in brief. Because history is important. You have to contextualize your problem within the historical context of that problem. And this is not new. The only country that has tried, a third world country that has tried to get maximum revenue from copper is Chile. And Chile had to undergo extensive reforms. They had to train special accountants, in their taxation system, special lawyers in their taxation system, okay, special engineers, in the industry, which we haven't done. So we are being affected in two ways. That firstly, we don't control the copper prices. Secondly, we are even failing to tax the companies, so-called investors in Zambia. We are failing. There's so much corruption in the taxation system that these guys know how to go around it. And really, the heartbreaking thing, Chico, is that it is our own people conniving with these foreign companies to understate what they have produced. VAT claims that are false. Our own people. Very sad situation. So corruption is also part of why we are where we are today.
So beyond that, I've seen from what you've said already, we are seeing that history and research, we do not have specialization in seeing the end product when it comes to copper, especially on the tax system. We need lawyers who know that this is how tax are done, and accountants, people who will be very much so. That is one of the issues which we need to look at. Yes. This is a problem which we have, and you need to have a solution. So beyond, like in our Zambia scenario, I asked about beyond this, what other alternative engines of growth can we have as Zambia? Because I already know that you've mentioned of which we need to plan. In 15 years, maybe we say, our copper now, let's train our people. I know that there will still be need for copper, and we should also see that we determine the price.
Firstly, there is no way we are going to determine the price of copper, because this is part of the neo-colonial arrangement of the West to continue to control the third world country.
Yes, we have the
Why is it that out of the 5 largest copper producing countries, only 2 are developed countries?
Australia
why
and
is
Canada
a developed country? Why is Australia a developed country, and Chile, Zambia, and the DRC are still called the poor countries or third world countries? The answer is simple. It is because those that are in charge of the market apply different standards to different countries. So they have different standards for Canada, they have different standards for Australia. Okay, but there's an issue that you raised about artisan mining. We in the economic front believe that if you are going to create employment within the mining industry, you need to promote small-scale mining, which is, I think, called the artisan mining. I don't think that the UPND has a policy on that. What we have seen is them being reactive to illegal mining. So you have all these youths on the Copper Belt and beyond that have engaged themselves into illegal mining for lack of employment. And then you have all these disasters that have been following. And then the government awakens one day and says, oh no, to prevent these disasters, let's get a way of helping these youngsters, these youths, get into small-scale mining. And the president made a pronouncement that these guys must be given licenses, that these guys... Look, mining is a very technical industry. I may not know much about it, but the little that I know is that you need equipment. You need people to advise you on safety rules. You don't keep on digging and digging and digging until you have a landslide. You have the damn thing collapsing on you, and the 20 people are buried, 30 people are buried. So it has very strict rules. Okay? You also need capital. So you don't, it is not the license, you give to a youth that is going to change his life. If you want the life of that youth to change, you must empower him by way of, we in the economic front believe that the first thing that we are going to do as a priority is to establish a bank for small scale miners, so that these guys can go to the bank and go and borrow money, whether in form of cash as working capital or in form of equipment. Otherwise, I can bet my last dollar that you can give all the youths that the president promised artisan mining licenses. You know what they will do? They will sell them to foreigners. They will be used simply as fronts, sell to foreigners, and get a pittance from that. And the foreigners know how to exploit our young people. So you need to make them independent and establish that bank. That is our manifesto as EAF.
Well, there's one issue which I loved, and it's rare to come from a politician. And you've said it, that in Zambia, we are very much reactive,
yes,
and like being proactive. From this, we've seen research. For us to have whatever we have, the energy plays a very pivotal role. Load shedding continues to affect businesses and households, despite what we've seen in the recent past, that there is an improvement. What do you think is the core problem with ZESCO, and how would Economic Front tackle this problem?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chico. What is the problem with ZESCO, and what would the Economic Front do? Again, let's give it this historical context. ZESCO, I hope you know, was hived off from Lusaka City Council. So Lusaka City Council was in charge of the provision of electricity. And Kaunda, in his infinite wisdom, decided that energy supply, electricity supply, should become a parastatal. So ZESCO was born out of that. Just like Lusaka Swarage Water and Swarage Company was born out of Lusaka City Council. But ZESCO has suffered the same misfortune that the CCM suffered. Lack of recapitalization. It's a highly technology demanding industry. If you are going to produce energy, you must, and make it affordable to your people, you must make sure that you have technology that can enhance the output. I'm speaking as a lay person, not as a ZESCO engineer. But they will understand the situation. So like ZCCM, we have not had the opportunity or the planning, the forward planning to replace some of the old machinery and equipment in the hydro supply area of ZESCO. And these machines have been wearing out over years. Secondly, it is true that the tariffs are very low. Why are they low? Because most of our people in this country use power just for domestic purposes. Kupika chabe nsima munyumba. That's why we need ZESCO. If ZESCO is going to thrive, it can't thrive on domestic consumers only. It must have an industrial base. There must be industries that consume power, that make a profit. And if you do that, if you did that, then you are going to structure your tariffs in such a way that the industries pay more and the domestic consumers pay less. So you have a subsidy arrangement that those who use power, they use electricity and make a profit, they produce goods and services to make a profit, must subsidize those that use power for consumption, for domestic consumption. So I think that is where we are. So I get surprised when I read and listen to some of my colleagues in the opposition that if you voted for me, I can end load shedding in 2 months' time. That's not true. That's what HH said in 2020, 2021. He has just realized that it is not true. And I'm happy that he did apologize about it, that it was not true. And he's trying very hard now to look at these alternative sources of energy, wind, solar energy, etc., etc. But the problem with all those, Chico, is that we do not have the technology. We still have to buy solar panels from China, okay? And that in itself will not make the power, even from solar energy, cheap. So what we need to do is to do what the Chinese are doing, is to invest in research in technology. That is the way out from this problem. Okay? So we need to establish institutes and pump money into research. Get our engineers, establish think tanks, then we shall begin to solve. There's no country in this world that has made strides without research institutions.
Okay. Well, there is no political party which can make it without research and having the political mapping of
Exactly.
this country. You are coming from the background of Dr. Chileshe in the Patriotic Front, and you, as being a researcher, you have a research department which the Lusaka City Council maybe did not follow it. Hence, we saw that in the infinite wisdom of Dr. Kaunda had to say, okay, may you be independent, and Lusaka City Council was then one of the richest cities in Southern Africa.
Yes.
Well, with that said, and mentioning of the president who has apologized, you've said he has apologized because...
I heard him apologize.
Okay. Anyway, what is your take that we are going to elections and on the government performance, UPND? Looking at the last 4 years, what would you say are the failures and successes of the UPND government?
There are many. There are many failures, and I think they've got a bit of success. Let's start with the failures. UPND has failed to provide employment to the youths, as promised. Not as I'm saying it, but as they promised. I want to tell you that as I drive along the roads of Lusaka, the same youth that I saw at the traffic lights and along the roads in the 2011 to Michael Sata's 2014, ECL's 2015 to 2021 are still there today in 2026. They're still on the streets. But forget about that group of youths. Go even to the educated ones. Go even to the ones that are diploma holders from colleges. Go even to the ones that are degree holders from our universities. They still roam the streets. Today, you have a graduate who says, I want a job. And when you ask them, what job do you want? What is your area of specialization? They tell you, just give me anything. And I'll tell you, let me give you this very practical story. When my dad was sick, and he came to our house to stay with us in 2024, I think, 2024. He stayed with us for 6 weeks. Because of his state of health, we had to employ a nurse. So I sent word around, and a young man came who is a qualified nurse, and he looked after Dad very well. My father was very happy with him. He was a good young man, and I think he was in the right profession. All the intakes of nurses have missed him, this recruitment of health workers. What we did, because of this relationship we had established with him, one of the service stations was looking for a petrol attendant. True story. And we spoke to the owners And the young man now is working somewhere as a petrol attendant because he can't get a job as a nurse. Okay? We also had in the family a female nurse who got a job as a maid because the recruitment of health workers missed her. So I'm giving these examples to show this failure by the UPND against the 35,000 recruited health workers, and whatever. There are millions that have been left that are still roaming the streets today. The other thing that I think is a problem which the UPND are saying is a success, which in my view is a very difficult success to appreciate, is CDF. I'm a critic of CDF, not only under UPND, but even when I was in PF. My argument is that the 40 million kwacha CDF money should be given to local authorities, should be administered by the representatives of the people, not a small group of unelected people. So we believe in the economic front that if the Zambian people voted for us, would actually bring to an end CDF, scrap it all together, and send that money to local authorities. The other issue which UPND inherited, and I thought they were going to do it better, is the FISIP, the Farmers Input Supply Program. This is a bedrock of corruption, rampant corruption, starting from those who supply seed, those who supply fertilizer, the mint money. And yet, not even the UPND has taken time to study this system and see how much of it is anchored on corruption, how much of it is fodder for the agri companies that are involved in. It is so porous a system that it goes up to the extent of, up to the level of, what do you call them, district agriculture officers. Many of them are corrupt. The DACOs, district agricultural coordinators, most of them are corrupt. They have been corrupt under MMD, they were corrupt under PF, they are still corrupt under UPND. And they do so because you have created these cooperatives. Some of them are just cooperatives of dead people. Almost everybody on the list is dead. But none of us gets buried with the NRC. So I die, I have Mr. Kabimba Senior as the NRC. Okay? So it's very easy for me to go to a DACO and put my father's name on the list and get fertilizer and get inputs. So that is a failure for the UPND. It was a failure by MMD, it was a failure by PF, including under Michael Sata, and it's still a failure under UPND. Have they done something better? Yes. One of the things that they have done, which they should be talking about every day, is the debt restructuring of this country. That UPND inherited a huge debt, some of which was contracted when I was there. So I'm just as guilty of that mess.
The roads.
So, but the intention of Michael Sata, as I understood it, was very good. Let's borrow money, put it in road infrastructure, and open the districts to one another and the provinces across the country.
All right.
Fantastic program.
Okay. So,
but I think it was abused later.
So they have scored. You're agreeing that they have scored and they have failures.
I think on the debt restructuring, give it to them. I may not agree with them fully because of the involvement of the IMF, but I think they have scored.
Okay. I know that you are a person who speaks the way things are, and people look at you as an elder, and you're able now to advise the people in government and those who are outside, including your own, your fellow politicians in the opposition. I've seen that such a politician always walk a lone walk.
Yes.
And because you are a loner, are we seeing you as a loner with your good policies if you are to come into power, economic front, policy approach? what would you do differently from those in power and those who you once served and those before you?
Oh, I've outlined what we could do. I've told you what we could do in mining. I've just told you what we could do in terms of CDF. The view we had in PF with Microsat, which is still my view, is that you must have in place a farmer input support program which allows people to graduate if you are going to develop your agriculture sector. What does this mean? It means that if Chico joins the FISIP or is a beneficiary of FISIP, then he should be under FISIP for a maximum of 3 years. After 3 years, Chico must graduate into what is known as an emergent farmer. As an emergent farmer, Chico would be allowed to go and borrow money from what we hope we are going to establish, which is another bank for small-scale farmers, not commercial farmers, but a deliberate bank for small-scale farmers. Now, the beneficiary under FISIP has it easy because all that they need to do is raise 400 kwacha or 500 kwacha and pay to the cooperative, to which they belong. The emergent farmer who has graduated from FISIP must be given capital which they can borrow from this bank for small-scale farmers. And we expect the emergent farmer to be an emergent farmer for a maximum of 5 years. And after 5 years, you must be able to graduate from there and become a commercial farmer. The arrangement you have now is that you are born in FISIP, you grow up in FISIP, and you die in FISIP.
Okay.
That's the system we have now. So it doesn't give you any progression.
Okay.
You die in FISIP, wachoka imvu mu FISIP, you are still lining up for fertilizer. Okay? We want people to be forward-looking and say, in 3 years' time, I'll be an emergent farmer. I'll stop using a plow. I'll be able to go to the bank and borrow money and buy a tractor, mechanize my farm, and enhance production. Only then are you going to have food security. So you can't have a bumper harvest depending on the rains. You must have a bumper harvest dependent on the agricultural practices that you put in place. And those agricultural practices must be supported by capital. And that capital must come from the bank. And that capital must be affordable in terms of interest rates.
You speak mainly as a person who has a blueprint, and that's what maybe
yes,
what may be in your manifesto. And how are you taking this information to the people? I think even in simple terms, I've seen it's easy. Many Zambians who venture into business, including those in agro business, you've said time and again that what determines, do we have a research institute which could give us a threshold that this is a bumper harvest? Because Zambia's maize, we are far below. People don't even consume maize more like Egypt.
Let me tell you.
You've always said that we say a bumper harvest. And what is a bumper harvest? Is it when we have a surplus? Or when we say that we need to have... We've never hit 8 million metric tons. Our highest has been below 5 million metric tons.
Let me say this, Chico. I said earlier that when we talk about the bumper harvest, we look at the amount of rains that the country has received. That's not how you measure a bumper harvest. If a third world war broke out today, God forbid, I don't think that we have supplies in this country of maize which can last us more than 3 months. I doubt. Okay? If a third world war broke out and the routes for cereals are affected because ships can't transport cereals, can't transport maize from Brazil or from the US, to here. I think we would starve. We do not have a clear policy on food security. We don't have.
Okay.
Again, not only under UPND, even under PF, even under MMD.
Only under UNIP you had numbered. You tried.
Numbod tried. Numbod tried. I mean, I was in the village myself. Villagers had even no payment, no problem about payment.
Okay.
The e-voucher.
Wow.
And all these things that don't even deliver.
Very soon. Okay, we are opening the phone lines. But before we open the phone lines, the line to call us is 077 000945. This is our Airtel line, 077 000945. I'm your host, I'm Chico, and I'm hosting the Economic Front President, Comrade Wynter Kabimba, looking at governance and democracy. We are going to elections, and one of the issues which you cannot separate from the two is the electoral process. Constituencies, the Electoral Commission has published dates for public hearing on delimitation of constituencies. And is this timeline available given the proximity to the elections? We are so close to the elections, and we are having delimitation.
Chico, that's a good question. I think time is militating against a proper and what would have been a progressive delimitation exercise. Okay? I think UPND would have scored a success if they had waited until after the 2026 elections, hoping that they win the election, to do this exercise. But now they are racing against time. And the people that are bearing this pressure are the team in the Electoral Commission of Zambia. I've been following the submissions on TV and even on social media of the stakeholder meetings that have been going on. They have all been very, very acrimonious. I saw one in Kazungula. I saw one on social media yesterday by a senior chief in Northern Province. I saw one, I think the one by Paramount Chief Mpezeni in the Eastern Province.
Chief Mwamba.
Okay. It shows you that people are hostile towards the exercise. But hostile, I think, because they do not understand what is going on. The information is very scanty. I think ECZ should have given people enough information for them to understand what this exercise is all about. For example, who decides that there will only be 76 new constituencies? Who has decided that? Is that the mandate of ECZ? I don't think so. If it is somebody in government, how did he arrive at 76? And where will those constituencies be? The 76. As I talk about.
There are 70. 70.
Well, the chairperson said 76 during our Sunday interview. And who is allocating this? Who is saying, okay, Northern Province muzatengako 3. Imwe ba Eastern muzatengako 2. Who is doing the allocation? And if there is somebody doing the allocation, what is the basis of the allocation? Why is one province getting 2 and the other one only getting 3? So I think the acrimony and the hostility to the exercise is arising from this lack of information. Is there somebody who is hiding somewhere and playing the game? Okay. The people suspect.
Hello. Okay, we got your thoughts. All right. The line to call us is 077 000945. 077 000945. We have some caller already on the line. Hello. Hello, morning.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, and how are you, sir? Speak up.
Okay, morning. Am I audible enough now?
Yes, you're trying to be audible. Hello?
Hello, are you not getting me?
Now we can get you.
Yes, I was thinking that Mr. Kabimba has on forum stated that the Edgar Lungu was his personal friend and he used to frequent his house many times, even after the then president left the office. Taking advantage of that, additionally, of course, Mr. Kabimba said that he always said that the late Edgar Lungu was his classmate at Unja. So, now I want to get it from Mr. Kabimba. From the little that you know about your friend, could it be possible that he could have said, HH should not attend my funeral? Was there such a beef between the two people that one of them would fire the other from attending his funeral? What was really the problem between HH and ECO, for ECO to go to the extent of stating in his so-called will that it should not attend his or his burial?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Your name, sir?
Chanda.
Chanda. Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay.
Hello? Hello? Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Fine, and how are you? Your name and where are you calling from?
This is Boniface from Zambia. Good morning, Mr. Karim.
Good morning, Boniface.
Mr. Karimba Mukamba Chapeku, like UPNG government yachibutisa maningi in terms of corruption. Ma ambulances ya jayana sala. Chiverako ma update yaliwe. Ma drug ya jayana soba ya ma sebedako ti containers ya ma drug. Kodi baby arrest iliyo siyechiona like in Zambia. So it resign kukamba moshi 18 August itizakuvodera.
Okay, let's come. All right, we've got some messages here. One saying, great, Mr. Kabimba, you're one of the people who speaks right. My only concern is, are you on the ground? Are you going to stand, or are you going to be part of the alliance of the UPND, or you can follow any of the opposition? Because we need such governance. You are the only person who can sit the opposition as well as the ruling elite. Because now we have the ruling elite, you cannot say no to it. I think you know that there is the ruling elite in Zambia. This is Tracy from Tendere East. And then the other one here says, Mr. Kabimba, you always call a spade a spade. What is your take on the continuation of by-elections and the delimitation process? Do you see that it is a political gimmick and the UPND want to gain? This is coming from M.M. Nchirulu. With those, I think the ones I've read, and you can, I don't know which one to start with. There's one who mentioned about ECL.
Yeah.
The one who said there's still corruption and the ambulances and the drugs. Then these two messages of saying, what are you doing? Are you on the ground? And also from if you are going to go with either the UPND or you are going to stand alone. Yes.
Let me start with the ECO one. Let me start with the ECO one. I've said it before that my interaction with the ECO did not leave me with an impression that ECO would have said what he is said to have said, according to the family. And I think my brother asks a good, caps it well, in terms of the question. Was the relationship between the two so bad, okay, that ECO would have said that? And the answer is no. I think there was one time when ECO himself said him and HH used to talk. He said it himself. Okay. I think what has happened, is that people seem to want to take advantage, and I said this before, that it looks like people are using ECL's name to advance their political agendas. Okay? They don't have a name on their own. They don't have any background on their own. So the only way they can advance their political agenda is to use the ECL. And I think it's a pity that the family has fallen into this political trump card, or this political scheme would be a better way of putting it. It's very unfortunate. And those of us that interacted with ECL, we feel bad, we feel sad that the man could be lying in a South African mortuary for 4 months now. In a couple of months' time, if he is not buried, ECL would have been in the morgue for 1 year, 12 months. I've never heard of anybody in my life at my age who has been in the mortuary that long. ECL would be the first. The other one spoke about alliance, and whatever.
What are you doing on the ground? You speak so well, and what are you doing on the ground?
We are on the ground. If we are not there in Mtendere, the provincial chairman is here with me, then it means he's not doing his job. Bwana, it means you are not doing your job.
Mtendere East.
If you are not known in Mtendere East. The provincial chairman is here with me. So if you say that, then I think we need to pull up our socks as the economic front. The other one was talking about?
The other one was talking about delimitation.
Delimitation
what
exercise.
is your take on delimitation and the by-elections?
Yeah.
And then the other one also mentioned of, are you seeing some corruption? Is it that they want to have political gain with the delimitation?
One of the things that Chico, you guys in the media industry, one of the things that we should teach our citizens is to actually attempt to look for the truth. I have a bandwamenti gula chabaya, gula mabandula 5 kwacha or 10 kwacha, then we end up on social media. Pa social media paliboza maningi. So this is not the first time that it is happening. Okay, it is not the first time that we have an amendment of the constitution. But if you just went back, and here I blame the UPND. They can't get the message out because look at the propaganda that went along with this constitutional amendment.
Bill
Act,
7.
Okay, of Bill 7, which is now Constitutional Amendment Act number 13 of 2025. Look at all the propaganda. There were things on social media, saying that HH wanted to extend his term of office. It is not there in the constitution. Okay, there was social media, information that the reason why HH wants to extend his term he wants to extend the term of office of mayors and council chairmen is because he wants to come back himself and say, I also want an extension of office. There was propaganda on social media to the effect that, this amendment is about HH increasing the number of staying in office, the term of office from 5 years to 7 years. That's what was going on. There was so much propaganda. I remember myself going to submit before the Technical Constitutional Review Commission. Out of the 4 objections which I raised, 3 have been dropped from the final act. Okay. Wow. So, muzichenjela na chiteche. And this is what UPND should be going there out and challenge those that were raising these propaganda issues and say, is this what has happened?
We've got a caller on the line, and we are just only 2 minutes to end the program. Actually, my producer just sent me a message that we can go on, but we are running into news. But let's just pick this call and then, hello?
morning.
Good morning, sir. You only have a minute because
Okay,
yes.
I've heard you when you are informing us to say we have remained with 2 minutes. Good morning, President Wynter Kabimba.
Good morning, thank you.
Yes, sir. President, you are speaking so too well. You are speaking very well.
Thank you.
I always follow you whenever you are on a platform like this.
Thank you.
Tabaninga kambeko Wynter Kabimba mukamba keep it up.
Okay.
Mambera bwino lyobuzi.
Okay.
So, onga limitation ya men. I think te muyemegera kuti toera bwino monga itema Zambia nzikiwa sabambiri ima viziba bwino imwe sense prazingi mwe lawyers muvi chita understand bina makamaka ngati baleta bamene very entitled to what is this?
Izakwana 1
Okay,
minute.
Zikomo. Mwakamba bwino. Zikomo.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
thank you very much. Comrade Wynter Kabimba, thank you for joining us today and sharing your insights with our listeners. As Zambians, it's crucial that we hold our leaders accountable and ensure that policies and legislation truly serve the people, from public health and governance to economic reforms and democracy. The choices we make now will shape the future of our country. We appreciate your time and your willingness to engage in critical conversation, which we have here. On behalf of the Arena and Metro FM, we'll always feel privileged to have a state council among us. Thank you for being here, and we'll call you again.
Thank you, Chico.